The bustling city was a symphony of sounds and colors. Cars zoomed past the intersection, their tires humming on the asphalt, and their exhaust fumes leaving a subtle scent of gasoline in the air. The buildings loomed overhead, casting long shadows that danced with the changing traffic lights. There was a sort of rhythm to this place, a heartbeat composed of honking horns, chattering pedestrians, and the ever-present city hum. Catherine could feel it as she clumsily walked off her porch, her feet landing with a soft thud on the concrete sidewalk. She nearly face-planted into the street, but regained her balance with a wobbly step. She thought that the city had a smooth vibe, like a well-choreographed dance, and recognized herself as a newcomer, adapting to its unique rhythm. Having a new home and job was scary, but Catherine knew she had to focus and gain her rhythm if she were to make it, to reach her goals. The breeze carried a mix of scents, food vendors grilling on the street corners, a hint of blooming flowers from a nearby park, and the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee from a cafe. She was looking down at the ground as she always did, in an attempt to distract herself. A colony of ants caught her attention, their tiny legs skittering on the sidewalk as they carried away a potato chip. They engulfed it, ripping it to shreds as they ran with the remnants piece by piece back to their colony. Catherine was running away too, but she was alone. She had friends, she had family, but she needed to move to a new place. She needed to be alone and find herself. The city's cacophony was the backdrop to her journey of self-discovery. The eerie silence of her surroundings jolted her to look up. The walk light of the intersection was finally on, bathing her in its warm, artificial glow. Catherine looked back down at her phone and made her way across the street. She only took 3 steps. Beep! Bang! The cacophonous crash of colliding vehicles shattered the urban symphony. Catherine gasped. Her phone dropped to the road, cracking in an instant. Her curiosity forced her to look up, while her rapidly beating heart begged her to look away. The white minivan had barely dodged her while passing the crosswalk, but collided with a car going in the opposite direction. The mother who was driving sat limp, blood trickled down her forehead. The metallic scent of spilled gasoline mingled with the acrid odor of scorched rubber. A nearby car had pulled over, and its driver was directing the children out of the minivan to safety. Catherine whirled her head back to the traffic signal. The crossing light was off and the lights were green. She could have sworn she saw the crosswalk light go on. How was this possible? Her racing heart seemed to match the rhythm of the city's chaos. Catherine gripped her cracked phone with a shaking hand, placing it back into her pocket. She looked around to see if anyone else had seen her. The unconscious mother in the minivan must have been the only one looking, her chest heaving in unconsciousness. With a heavy weight of guilt, Catherine crossed the street, making her way to her new office. Her day went by quickly. She met so many new faces from her new boss and co-workers. Throughout the day, many approached her, whether it was to spark conversation during lunch or to make small talk with her while she was at the water fountain to cool her nerves. Throughout the day, she had to go through introductory videos given from HR, such as compensation and benefits, workplace health and safety, and employee relations. Catherine's mind raced too much for her to pay attention. Catherine lived in her daydreams as she clicked through the various videos. The day couldn't be over soon enough. The moment the clock hit 5 p.m., Catherine's bag was packed. She waved goodbye to her new boss. "Is everything okay?" he asked. Her boss, George Finkel, seemed like a kind man who genuinely did care. Unfortunately, he wouldn't be able to help Catherine with her problems. "Yes, Mr. Finkel, everything is all right. I had a wonderful first day." Catherine brushed her hands through her sweaty, matted hair. It was grimy and gross. She truly was a mess. "Well, all right then," Mr. Finkel replied. "Have a good night and get home safe." "Thank you." Catherine let out a laugh that was obviously forced as she waved goodbye. Her heart raced as she exited the building, leaving behind the reassuring rhythm of the office. She really did need to get home safe. No distractions. This was the time she would finally be on top of her life and have herself organized. Catherine made sure her phone was in her pocket during her walk home. Her mind wandered on the way home. Was the family safe? Did the mother recover uninjured? Was the debris cleared from the road? When Katharina reached the intersection, she realized that the intersection had been cleared as if nothing had ever occurred. Catherine reluctantly tapped the cold metal button on the crosswalk and looked up at the light. It was a crisp autumn evening, and the chill in the air sent shivers down her spine. She was going to cross the moment that the crosswalk sign lit white to make sure that she had as much time as possible to make it across. She waited only for a minute as the cars along the intersection came to a halt, their engines purring like contented beasts. The faint scent of gasoline lingered in the cool breeze, mixed with the earthy aroma of fallen leaves. The crosswalk lit white, its fluorescent glow contrasting with the darkening sky, casting an eerie, otherworldly light upon the pavement. The sign began to flicker to indicate the time that she had to cross, 20, 19, 18, 2, 1. Each flicker seemed louder than the last, a staccato of anticipation in the silent evening. The sign was suddenly off and the lights were green. Catherine's breath hung in the air, forming a visible mist as she exhaled. She jumped backward, barely dodging a car that whipped past her, the rush of wind ruffling her hair. What was the problem? She could have sworn the timer suddenly flashed down. What was wrong with the crosswalk? She clicked the button again and waited for the crosswalk sign. When the crosswalk light flashed again, Catherine began to walk, but remained cautious. The faint, rhythmic thumping of her own heart seemed to sync with the signals, adding to the growing tension. Once again the signal turned off, and the light turned green. Catherine sprinted across the street, racing before traffic could even react. Her pulse pounded in her ears, the adrenaline coursing through her veins. She heard a pop, then looked up to see the traffic light was moving. It creaked and cracked, then fell onto the road, the deafening crash echoing through the intersection. Electric sparks sprayed, illuminating the scene in a shower of fiery brightness. Catherine let out a scream, the sound blending with the wailing sirens of approaching emergency vehicles. She turned to see that the traffic light was now cracked on the road. The green arrow was still on, pointing directly at her. The lights next to the green arrow started to flash red, yellow, green. They read LOL. The lights continued to flash on and off. LOL, 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 LOL. The unsettling, artificial flicker mirrored the racing of her mind and the chaos of the moment. Catherine turned and ran.